Welcome. This will be my thoughts on The Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 7, Crossed. The episode is rated TVMA, so will this video be? There will be spoilers for the episode and all the ones leading up to it, all of which I love. Yeah, let's... okay, I want to say I really appreciate the way that this show, like, you can tell that the budget has increased, but they're still doing, like, character stuff. It's not getting lost in, like, just flash and yeah, big expensive stuff. The for example, the one with Beth and sorry, Carol and Daryl. um I think that is the only. I'm not sure there's much overarching. I No, yeah, the rest of it is, let's go scene by scene. So I think the first thing we see is the fire truck. Let's go with that. So yeah. The wait, no, yeah, the first thing we see, I'm pretty sure, is their yeah. Um they took one look at the organ, went, nice pipes, and brought them with. And yeah, the priest just, like, more and more of, like, yeah, the more and more of this holy shit is being desecrated in one way or another. And yeah, he tries desperately to scrub the blood off the floor. And I think that covers the yeah, and I appreciate it's one of those things. Yeah, seeing someone try to scratch at something that's gonna fuck up their nails, like I mean, hurt, possibly, the one of the nails coming off or something, the fucking fly style. Jesus, that's for some reason that always fucks with my head more than the more, like, gruesome violence that I don't know. I think I have an easier time. My nails have never come off the fly style, but it's something that I have an easier time relating to. Yeah, and I think that brings us to the fire truck. So yeah, I really appreciated the thing about, so yeah, basically they they're waiting for Eugene to, come back to consciousness, because they point out, well, if we move him, it might make it worse. What will make it better? Waking up. And I think first it's Rosita walking over to Abraham, and she's like, hey, you've been kneeling for the entire week between episodes. Are your knees okay? And yeah, she points out, you're not the only one who lost all the, and I think he might be the one who feels it the most. I mean, there's others, yeah, all of them are lost by him, by Eugene turning out to have lied about it. Abraham, he felt like he had to find some new meaning after his partner and their kids were killed. And yeah, I like that she points out, I have a nephew that, behaves more mature than you. Sadly, a problem with a lot of men never really grow up. And yeah, he knocks away the bottle. He also doesn't want Baba. And she's like, look at me. And then he does. And then she's like, you can stop looking at me now. And Maggie just, yeah, aims, takes the safety off, and tells him, sit back down. His poor knees. And let's see. Tara gave them a name. Greatum. Band of Brothers, which I have to admit, it's been so long since I watched that show. I think it was a show. Apparently the Abraham actor was on that show as well. Maybe I'll rewatch that show at some point. I just don't have access to it right now, I don't think. But I remember thinking it was really, really compelling. But yeah, it is it's a neat little thing. And she says, well, I'm trying to think of something else, And yeah, she made a water bottle for each of them, put their initial on top of the cap. And I think that brings us to the yeah. We see, okay, this might be out of order. Fuck it. But we have yeah. Rick saying not goodbye, but smell you later. And I do appreciate the affection, the hug. And yeah, they start, boarding up the church. Which is not going to help that much because it actually opens out, but nobody told them. And the detail that baby Judith starts crying as soon as Rick leaves. And I'm very glad that I know enough about movie making. I know for a fact they did not have that baby crying for very long. I think I forgot to mention, I don't remember if I did or not, but certainly, so yeah, there was an earlier episode where one of the termites was threatening Judith, and she was crying out of fear. And I listened to the commentary track, and they explained the hands on the actress playing baby Judith are those of her father, and he's comforting her. They filmed her crying for like seconds and then had him comfort her, and they used some of the footage where she is being comforted because like if you've I don't have kids myself, but I have and I know enough to say sometimes they even once you start comforting them, they don't stop crying immediately. There are yeah. Now I think that does, yeah. Carl talks to the father, and yeah, tells him these weapons will protect you. I could teach you, but I'd have to charge. And immediately tells him, well, you're holding the machete wrong. And he's giving all these, he's basically relaying experience. You can't stay in one place for very long. You're going to meet people, and they're going to be dangerous to you. And, you see yeah. she's hearing this and you know, on one level thinking this is a lot to lay on this priest, who's already like deeply upset about the blood, and also like thinking to herself, well, shit, that is what he's learned, isn't it? Those are things that he has come to believe. Whether or not like, it's possible that he, you know, I like to hope that eventually the characters on the show will reach a situation that's safe and happy, but you know, who knows? And yeah, like it's especially stuff like the fact that, you know, not trusting the new people you meet, at least not all of them, and not staying in any one place at the same time, you know, because like, I mean, a lot of us thrive on stability, but it's especially necessary when you're still a kid. So, yeah. And yeah, he says, you know, he takes the machete, but he says I'm gonna go lie down. And I guess I'll go ahead and cover. So what's the trick? He tricked him with a tricky trick. That trickster he. Um, yeah, he got the machete so he could remove the boards, and he held it wrong, perhaps purposely, so that Carl wouldn't think, you know, because he didn't look like a man with a mission when they saw him leave. And yeah, you know, the bit where yeah, she comes up and he's like, are you okay? And you know, he had a chance to tell her, but he chooses not to. He doesn't tell them that he's opening up there. You know, like hypothetically, a walker could come in there, or a human enemy. Um, yeah, that's very, very fucked up of him. Um, and he leaves and he doesn't even bring the machete. He, you know, and he of course runs into a walker. Great jump scare there, because he's like, yeah, okay, there's one nearby, we can tell. And then suddenly she's just fucking there. And he, you know, he grabs the rock and he can't quite bring himself to, you know, bash her brains in, or lack of brains in, because, you know, he sees the cross and the power of Christ compels him not to do it. Yeah, let's see. Then we have the I think, is that where let's go with, yeah. So Grady. Yeah, Beth going up and you know, there's the thing about the what was the word, the you know, yeah, he's talking about, well, you know, we really want to waste resources on, you know, her. She's probably a lost cause. And then Beth says, you charge your DVD player every day. Isn't that a waste of resources? Just, she's awesome. She's so great. Not great, but great. And yeah, of course, you know, Dawn is like, well, you just killed her, because she apparently can't take responsibility for anything. And then she says, I can't do anything. But you can. Such a great twist, because like, yeah, she never said that she didn't care or that she wanted Carol dead. Yeah, really, really clever. And yeah, you know, she gets 2 strawberries for the old guy who fake coughs. It's possible he even knows that he'd be, you know, what he'd be helping with. I mean, I'm sure he would stay up all night if he knew how to save a life. Thankfully, Beth does. And also, right, also her going to the doctor, and the thing about, you know, getting the key, you know, and she goes to the doctor and she's like, okay, what would you give Carol? Well, I would only be guessing, Doctor. Give her your best guess. Like she's not asking for some kind of assurance that you know. And he says, "You have Donsky, don't you? Did she give it to you or did you take it? Because if she gave it to you, she's not trying to help you." Which is this wonderful thing of like, because I don't know if he's telling the truth or if he's trying to mess with her head. Because like obviously, you know, hypothetically, let's say that Carol makes a full recovery. That means she and Beth might try to get out of there, and you know, the doctor, his situation is relatively stable. So yeah. But on the other hand, like maybe he is telling the truth because, yeah, I mean, Dawn doesn't really seem like she does anything out of the kindness of her heart. And I also like the thing about, you know, she didn't trust the doctor with the key to the medicine cabinet, um, which I'm not entirely sure, because there's a couple of ways you could read that. Like maybe she thinks he'd become an addict. Maybe she thinks that he would use it for some other purpose. I mean, certainly she does like to keep things under her own control. Now, I think that does bring us to the so yeah, you know, he eventually tells her what to give, and she gets it and gives it to Carol. Very nicely done on, you know, bringing the IV thing in between towels, because if anybody asks, like, what do you mean she's bringing towels? This is part of her job. Do you not want her to do her job? And yeah, so I guess yes. So Rick and the others, you know, they go to that place close to Grady, and they talk about it. And I really like the fact that they do actually, what's the word? They actually discuss the different options. You know, yeah, I quite appreciated that, and yeah, like I was genuinely thinking, like, I don't know what they're gonna end up doing or if it's gonna work, or yeah. um and I thought the episode did a really solid job of, like, yeah, we hear the plan, and you know, as I've just explained, we're not sure if it's working or not, on the, you know, because it's not a completely hopeless plan, but it's not the most hopeful either. Like, and over the course of the episode, as we see them try to carry out the plan, like, yeah, some things go like pitch perfect, like the capturing of those first two, but then, you know, other things get really fucked up. Like, I want to say Lamson was the name, you know, shows up, frees them, you know, temporarily, and then at the end, you know, the other cop, tricking Sasha. Just, yeah. Oh my god. I genuinely am not sure how exactly it's going to end up, because, like, obviously if he is able to warn Dawn, or if she realizes, because too much time passes without them returning, if they're waiting their guns drawn, maybe even like using Beth as a human shield, you know, I mean, there's only so many people that it could be. um I mean, they don't know that much about Rick and the others, but like the idea that someone might take hostages specifically to get someone out, and like timeline wise, well, it's got to be Beth and or Carol, right? Because like other patients have been there for longer, so yeah. Okay, I've talked a bunch about Rick. Let's talk some about Greatman. So glad they gave themselves a team name. Yeah, I like Maggie, with Abraham and saying, drink some water. You're thirsty, right? And, she points out that yeah. Or was she the one who's, I, I forget, I think she says something along the lines of get over yourself. And, the thing about, did you want me to shoot you? I thought I did, but I don't. And that is like there are real life cases where someone thought they, you know, yeah, thought that they would welcome death until they were actually in a life or death situation, and the survival instinct kicked in. And I also really liked, so she gets up the ladder, and the cloth tarp thing. I think it might be called a tarp. I'm not entirely sure. And puts it over Eugene. And there at the end, we do hear a noise from him, and I hope that means he's waking up rather than that he died and has turned into a walker. Now, yeah, so Rick. Genuinely really clever using Noah. Yeah, so he fires a gun, and the cops catch up to him, and there's that moment where they say, "What were you shooting at? Aren't you smart enough to know that we'd hear you?" I thought there was gonna be, maybe there was like in an earlier draft of the script and they thought it was too corny or something, but somewhere where one of the cops is like, "You did, and this is a trap," or something along those lines, some yeah. Um and yeah, like the fact that, them the two cops pointing their guns at Rick and the others, because it's this thing of like, well, on the one hand, the tension and suspense, because on the one hand I feel like they can probably tell that they're outnumbered, but on the other hand, like, how desperate are they to get out? Sometimes people do self-destructive things under those circumstances, so if they feel trapped. So it was a relief when they put the guns down. And I did also like the thing about, so yeah, I don't know if Noah is a bad judge of character, or if that cop is just was able to trick Noah, or what exactly. But yeah, we did see him say, let me know if that's too tight. And yeah, so Noah says he's one of the good, yeah. And yeah, them talking about, well, if you have us as hostages, that'll, or shit, what was it? Um, there's something about if they let the cops go, that they would do something, and later they do also say, if you let all three of us go, we will take her down before, and then the other cops, yeah, says no, she won't negotiate. I'm genuinely not 100% sure about him, because I do also understand, like, I mean, they can really only take Rick and the others' word for that they're not going to kill them. So, trying to escape is, one can understand where they're coming from. But yeah, they get the two of them a little bit of distance, and then the other car shows up, and manages to take them, and firing at the Rick and the survivors. Really, really tense. Holy shit. And they goddamn, I think, was it Sasha who just nails the tire? Holy shit, good shot. And yeah, they can only drive so far, and they have to make a run for it, and they can only run so far, especially the two of them that are cuffed. Um, and turns out, it's possible that the only way to top a water bloated walker is a scorched, burnt up one. And the just Jesus Christ, and one of them, like, yeah, melted into the cement, as he puts it. And yeah, so there's several of them run off for the two of them. And then Daryl stays behind, and yeah, opens the FEMA vehicle, because like that would be an obvious place, logical place for the guy to hide. Turns out he was hiding elsewhere. Another jump scare. Yeah, jumps out, and there's a fight, and it's one of those things of like, they both know how to fight. We like, it's not a surprise that the cop does, and we already know that Daryl does. So yeah, it's a good matchup. And the cop is like pushing him towards the walkers, and he almost gets bitten. At one point, he's like reaching to get any kind of weapon. He actually briefly puts his hand in the mouth of the walker. That's thankfully, they are not the fastest thinkers. They do keep voting for Trump, so it doesn't chomp down before he's already gotten his hand out. And which is, statistically, a lot of white Republicans in red states are recipients of handouts, which is not a bad thing. It's just interesting that then they vote to have them removed, because they're convinced that there's a bunch of minorities getting those, yeah, handouts. Anyway, yes, we have the yeah, the fact that he manages, he sticks his fingers in the eyes, rips the fucking skull clean off the spine, and uses it to smack the cop in the head, which, like, yeah, I mean, that's essentially the equivalent of like a headbutt. Like a human skull hitting another human skull, that can hurt and injure pretty severely. And then Rick also shows up, and I think that does pretty much. Yeah, let's talk about the rest of Greatham. Yeah, Tara going, no need to get up, boys. There's no cure for you in Washington. And the thing about, that's not funny. It's not funny. And yeah, there's that. I think it might be Glenn who points out, we're all dealing with this in our own way. Yeah, like, Tara feels the need to make light of it, and also, I think she's the one who points out, Eugene only had one strength in order to survive the zombie apocalypse. Are we supposed to be mad at him for using it? And Glenn says, damn right. And yeah, I understand where Eugene was coming from, but ultimately, yeah, I think I lean Team Glenn. I think that does pretty well bring us to the so yeah, the let's see, we have the the part where they yeah, so they get to the creek. Unfortunately, the creek they're up is shit, and they don't have a paddle. But then Rosita makes one, and yeah, uh, you can indeed make. I can't, but some people can make a um, water filter like that. Because like basically like the water will drip through the fabric, whereas the mud will more like cling to, stick to. Um, yeah, and the thing, and I like she points out Eugene taught her, and then fish, and they kill a couple of walkers, make net, and um, yeah, use the net to catch a fish. Gross points. Blank. And yeah, she knows how to clean a fish. So yeah, that was a great. I really appreciate the like life affirming shit that they have there, because like just you know a fish, like we haven't had fresh fish in forever, and they just yeah, and Tara, Tara, how was your find? Great, and she digs through. You'll never guess what I found. I love that they play it as like a twist, and then afterwards, it's like a yo-yo, just because she wants to yo-yo, and she does it all the way through the rest of their um, screen time in the episode. That was great. Um, and I think it's Glenn who admits, okay, I guess maybe it's not funny. And I think that pretty well brings us to the last bit of Rick and his survivors. Yeah, again, like so many, like when they talk about like, oh, just let us go and we'll, deal with Dawn, like shit, I don't know. I mean, maybe because like we know that like everybody who talks about it says that Dawn's situation is precarious, so maybe um I mean I'm confident that the rapist cop um in the that ended up, Beth hit him over the head, and then he got killed by I'm afraid I forget her name, but the one who tried to cut her arm, and then they cut the rest of it off as a favor. She got the ball rolling on that one. He would not just go. He's pretty happy with the situation there. But these other cops, I don't know. I mean, possibly. I really appreciate the show using because it's um, such a gift for the show that there are all these survivors that are in separate groups. So yeah, when survivors meet each other, it's unclear which group you can trust and which members of the group. Sometimes it's not the entire group that can or can't be trusted. Tara was technically with the governor for a hot second, Um, yeah, just they're really applying that um, effective tool very nicely here. And yeah, like the thing, the cop, that's the thing. Like they're taught part of police training in America. I mean, ACAB obviously, but part of police training is to try to recognize when someone like it's a different what's the term? I guess heightened states of emotion. Because like in real life, hypothetically, maybe a cop might be attacked by someone who's in a heightened state. So yeah, he, using his cop training, is able to recognize there's something going on with Sasha, and he can, figure out. Yeah, I mean, there's only so many fucking things it could be. So he pretends to be upset and says, there was someone out there. And yeah, she does indeed spot someone. And yeah, like he spotted that person when they were, running and fighting and such. That is not someone he actually knows, but he just knew to point her to. And the moment that he started talking about it, like I was thinking, is he to be trusted? Because like on the one hand, it's a credible story, which is another thing. Cops are taught to lie, come up with credible stories. Yeah. Uh, Jesus Christ. It got kind of Prison Breaky in this episode, but there's start out with a plan, and then some things work out, but some things really end up a mess. Yeah. God damn it. Really appreciated the conversation between Sasha and Tyrese about Bob, and him pointing out, you got to say goodbye. Not everybody gets that, and try to focus on that instead of the bad, instead of the loss. And I think that might be everything I have about the episode. Let's see. Yeah, I think overall that does cover everything. But yeah, like I genuinely, the part where Rick is standing pointing the gun at the third cop, and Daryl does manage to talk him down and say, hey, 3's better than 2, and yeah, I genuinely wasn't sure if he was going to be able to talk Rick down, because like you see that look on his face, and that's again, like I feel like Rick is in this place where he, like, on the one hand he's capable of swift brutality if he feels that it's the only way to protect them, like in the church, but he does still have some of Farmer Rick left in him. He still does want to try to limit how much violence they engage in, or at the bare minimum try to make sure that the violence they get into is controlled and focused rather than chaotic. Yeah. um, but yeah, Daryl does make a good point. The yeah, I think that does cover everything. Yeah, I mean, it's also just because like we picture it in our mind what happened to these burnt up walkers, because like it's not just one, there's several. And yeah, there's some like this just basically skeleton that's left, almost like the one that they hit in the car. There wasn't that much left of him, and at least one of the zombies is like half, yeah, cut in half. um yeah, I don't know. I think these are walkers who are just no longer very extroverted, because you know the saying, once burnt, twice shy.